In 2009, we were all graced with a fresh gaming experience in the form of Demon's Souls. This game wasn't quite like previous FromSoft games and had a unique formula that hooked a niche crowd. The success of this fresh experience led to a tremendously successful continuation, Dark Souls. It not only further popularized FromSoft's work, but it even spawned terms such as Souls-like for game studios that adopt certain traits and mechanics from the games. As the series progressed with 2 more Dark Souls titles, the PS4 exclusive Bloodborne, the remake of Demon's Souls, and the last new FromSoft story, Sekiro, the amount of love and hype for the games has certainly surpassed the studio's expectations. The hidden lore, the stunning world, the tactical yet thrilling combat, creating your own character and build, the enemy and boss designs, and among the many things people love about the games, there's a lot of love for challenge runs. Not just a lot of love. I would say that this series of games has continued to grow and grow in popularity due to how many different challenges have been attempted and accomplished over the years. Everything from ludicrously high New Game Plus number save files, beating the game at soul level 1, only using a specific weapon or spell, not taking a single hit from any enemies, and so many more. Out of all the possible challenges, one of the most popular is the act of speedrunning. This is not surprising at all, and all of the games have a variety of interesting categories, with a tremendous amount of work put into many of them. With so much community activity and interest, as well as the central hub of Speed Souls to supplement research and resources, it's pretty clear that Elden Ring will have a healthy speedrunning scene. But what is the Elden Ring speedrun like? Well, if you watched my first Elden Ring video, I explained what the first 2 weeks led to. But shortly after the release of that video, a ton of incredible discoveries sprouted every day for weeks. It took me a bit to wrap my head around how outdated my video became within just a few days after uploading it. This video is releasing much later and will serve as a much better explanation of how Elden Ring has progressed as a speedrun. We will be going into possible spoiler territory, so this is your warning. I hope you're all enjoying the game, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the video. If you haven't already done so, please help a fellow Tarnished out and touch the lost grace that is the subscribe button. So without further ado, after a month of discoveries and experimenting, this is the Elden Ring speedrun. Let's start with some important information to catch you up to speed on how this run progressed so quickly. On March 9th, a day before the release of my first Elden Ring video, Distortion 2 snagged the first sub 50 minute any % run using the route that I fully explained in that video. If you want to understand how big of a difference that route is to the one I'm about to explain, you can either watch his past runs or watch my video explaining the route that Little Aggie used to snag the first sub-hour time. Up until around the sub 35 minute times, the route was changing the order in which you reach certain graces, which wrong warps you would execute, when you would acquire upgrades, and it even included a newly discovered Gideon skip. Any % was looking pretty spicy, and any % restricted was also a great showcase of the game's routing with no wrong warps. If you're interested in those runs, Captain Ezekiel is the current world record holder at the time of making this video. Multiple routes for the All Remembrances category were being hashed out, which was just above the 2-hour mark before FromSoft released the first patch. If you're interested in those runs, QTT6 is the world record holder at the time of making this video. Captain Ezekiel and QTT6's links will be in the description, as well as a bunch of other runners that I think would be great for you to watch, especially if you're really liking the Elden Ring speedruns so far. Eventually, as runners downpatched and started to get the hang of the new routing, the runs were under 30 minutes. But what if I told you that a certain discovery cut the average times almost in half Yes, that's right. Almost half the time that it was taking runners on average was cut from the route. Not only is this trick absolutely wild, but it's also pretty controversial. Let me introduce you to Elden Ring's equivalent to a zip. Now, in many other speedruns, a zip is a trick that allows runners to essentially teleport themselves from one side of a level or area to the other. Usually, this involves getting the player character wedged into a wall or surface, or something along the lines, and the game pushes them in a direction that is completely unintended. A lot of 2D platformers use zips, but a game like Elden Ring? Yeah, we did not see this coming. By holding block and tapping forward with specific timing, the game can launch you forward in whatever direction you're facing. It's hard to explain why this happens. Not even the runners who have tested it extensively really know, but I'll take Hazeblade's explanation, as it seems to make the most sense to me. The trick requires a double frame perfect input, 139 frames by the way, that is somewhat hardware and software dependent due to its reliance on consistent frame timing. Unfortunately, this game's PC port is never really working at 100%. It's always going above and below 100%, in a constant flux as it tries to balance performance for resources being loaded in or out. Because of this, zipping is very inconsistent and based on the hardware the runner is using. Again, we're not exactly sure if this is what causes zips, but it makes sense to me. If anyone here has more knowledge on this, feel free to share. So, what does this mean for the any percent category? Well, seeing as it's a very hardware-based trick, it has been moved to its own category unassociated with the regular any percent. At first, it seemed like these two categories would end up being practically the same. But, as more testing was done, it was found that you can zip just about wherever you wanted on the map. And that's what I'm about to show you right now. I'm going to break down Distortion 2's recent any percent unrestricted PB. Or the any percent I'm gonna zip. Or any percent zipper me timbers. Or, yeah, okay, you get the idea. Let's get started. The first change is picking Warrior and Fanged Imp Ashes. Warrior's stats and equipment are better suited for this new routing, and the Fanged Imps will be used instead of the Wolves much later. Things aren't different after character creation, so you take the intentional death, you wake up, and you head to the elevator. But opening the door to Limgrave brings us to our first zip. Yep, we're zipping already. Dist places himself at this rock in a specific spot and performs the inputs while Chet prages. As you can see, it was a very fast zip. He didn't land in the best spot, but it was acceptable. After zipping, it's time to acquire our Maiden and Torrent and head to the Stormhill Shack. This is where the next zipping spot is, and this one is actually ridiculous. This zip takes you from Stormhill Shack all the way to the Purified Ruins in Liurnia.
Jesus Christ, that's Jason Bourne.
Yeah. Truly a great example of just how far you can travel across the map, and that's not even the full power of the zip. The teleporter at the Purified Ruins will take you to the Academy Gate, which is convenient for this new route. You can head on over to the chest with Ice Rind in it, take the Academy Gate key, and use it to get to the next zipping spot. Once Dist has entered the gate, he walks back onto the slope, and you might be able to tell what he's aiming at. Yep, you guessed it. He's aiming for the 4 belfries. We're only 5 minutes in, by the way. As usual, you pick up the imbued key from the chest, and you go ahead and use the teleporter that will bring you to the Sneak Peek platform in Far Missoula. This wrong warp is the same wrong warp that I explained in my past video, but it's done a little bit differently in this category. You see, this category allows something called a force quit wrong warp, which essentially means that Dist is going to Alt F4 during the loading screen in order to get the warp. This brings Dist straight to the beginning of Farm Azula, which then he'll go on the classic loot and scoot and get to a Grace. But you know what? The whole scootin' part, it's a little outdated for this category, don't you think? How about we include a zip? I bet the dragon isn't gonna see this coming. Tornado Torshmado, we're zipping out here. Continuing the run through Farm Azula, Dist picks up the usual Heroes rune, the Somberstone Ball Bearing, the Somberstone 9, and then he touches the Grace before Godskin Duo. This is where you'll see another Force Quit Wrong Warp from 4 Belfries to the Gatefront, which actually places you back at Liurnia in a spot that's pretty close to EG, who is still used for upgrades. Old faithful EG, never let us down. Now it's time to head back to the Academy Gate and to perform the Pegasus glitch. Wait, Maxie, what's the Pegasus glitch? Well, it's time to explain yet another huge discovery for this game's speedruns beyond just any percent. The Pegasus glitch is used in almost every feasible category, and it's actually really cool. In order to do this glitch, you need to quit out while dismounting. The timing is a little bit tricky to get the hang of, but practice makes perfect. If successful, Torrent will be standing next to you when you load back in. Next, you want to fall off the ledge and quit out before dying. This will lead the game into thinking that Torrent has died to fall damage. I'm not sure why, but this leads to the whistle not spawning Torrent at first. It gives me a reason to believe that the Torrent that spawns with the second whistle has different properties from the regular Torrent that you would have spawned first. One of these properties is based on the y-axis of Torrent, which doesn't seem to change unless you use the surrounding environment to push yourself down or up. You can ride Torrent in mid-air anywhere you want. Thus, it has been deemed the Pegasus glitch. While this is the only time that this is going to be used in any percent unrestricted, this glitch is extremely helpful for all remembrances as well as other longer categories. In this case, Dist uses it here to ride to the lift in the Academy, where you do the usual intended Volcano Manor death warp. Nothing has really changed about the Volcano Manor loot and scoot. You get the Somberstones, you kill AFK Godskin Noble, and you pick up a Royal Knight's Resolve. At this point, you want to head back to the Roundtable Hold to buy Somberstone 8, the Calling Bell, and then level up Strength just enough for Ice Rind, and then put the rest of your stats into Vigor and Mind. You also add a charge to your flasks and allocate to 2 Crimson and 3 Cerulean. You upgrade Ice Rind to +9 and put Royal Knight's Resolve onto the secondary weapon. Now, Royal Knight's Resolve will boost your attack, which does transfer over to Harfrost Stomp. In the older patch, Royal Knight's Resolve being used on a weapon that you cannot effectively wield will not use any FP. This is just an oversight, and it's not really a trick or a glitch. It is very useful though. After successfully finishing the build setup needed for the rest of the run, it's time to head back to the Godskin Duo Grace and not fight Godskin Duo. Because it's time to zip. There's a small area right across from the bridge that you gain access to after beating Godskin Duo. You can probably tell where this is going. After quitting out, Dist does the setup for the zip that started it all. Godskin Duo skip was the first instance in which zipping actually skipped a large portion of the regular routes, and it truly kickstarted the discussion of how it worked, where else it could be utilized, or whether or not it should even be allowed. Dist's Godskin Duo skip was very clean, and put Dist on great pace for sub 20, which was his initial goal. Entering the Fog Gate, Dist prepares for whatever pattern Malekith has in store for him. After hours of practice, Dist has gotten this fight down to where getting the best pattern on Malekith makes the fight seem completely scripted. Dist performs the fight perfectly and starts to go full focus mode for the last zip of the run, the Elden Zip. After touching the Grace, a small slope at the northeastern corner from it is where this zip is performed. Dist is using the character model to line himself up pretty precisely here. The player character's positioning is a very important factor in all of these zips, but this one is extremely important. This is the reason why Dist actually had to set this up twice. He knew that that first setup was a little bit risky, and that if he actually got it, he might not have zipped to where he wanted to. After that second setup, he gets the zip very quickly, and knows that this is the run he was dreaming of. This takes you straight to the entrance to Radagon and Elden Beast, successfully skipping having to run around the Ashen Capital, or having to do Gideon skip, or Godfrey skip. A few deep breaths, and Dist heads straight into Radagon. Fighting Radagon hasn't really changed much. Like I mentioned in my previous video, he's like a fighting game character. He's just got this long move list that you have to make sure you know how to read all of the attacks, and whether or not to jump or dodge, and which attacks you have time to Hoarfrost Stomp after or before. Despite some weird patterns, Dist does pretty well here with the Radagon kill, and it's time to set up for Elden Beast. Fanged Impashes are out, FP is restored, and Royal Knight's Resolve is activated. It's time to pray for that AI break. The AI break is not consistent, nor is it really guaranteed, and there's usually 3 different results that can happen when attempting this. Either you get the Elden Beast down to half health and he runs away, you get him down to 1/4 health and he runs away, or he stays broken for the entirety of his health bar. As you can see here, Elden Beast breaks away at about 1/4 health. So this was not the best luck that Dist could have gotten, but it wasn't going to stop him. He kept his cool and made sure to not throw away this amazing pace to the ring attack. He gets a successful jump dodge, Elden Beast reappears, and he gets the kill.
Oh my fucking god. Oh my fucking god. Oh,
Congratulations.
the final run of the night. Oh my god.
At this point, he just proceeds to be mind blown at the achievement, and I know exactly how that feels. It's quite the mix of emotions. Not only was this monumental for the game's speedrunning scene, but it was also accomplished after a 15-hour stream. Truly a test of perseverance. As Dist's friend, I will say I'm very proud of him, and I would like to think that he's a great example of a runner who can accomplish great things when he gives it his all. His future is bright, but what about the future of Elden Ring speedrunning? Well, I personally think that this category is not going to be the most popular to run, but I do think it's special. As I mentioned earlier, nobody could have seen this coming. FromSoft games have a history of broken any percent runs, but this is just absolutely crazy. 3 weeks ago, if you had told me that Elden Ring would be completed faster than Sekiro, the second fastest any percent run in the past 13 years of FromSoft titles, I wouldn't have believed you. As runners continue to grind Elden Ring, the regular any percent category, the any percent restricted category, and the all remembrances categories will all surely be optimized over time. Not only that, but SGDQ submissions have just finished up, and I'm sure we're going to get a very entertaining showcase of this game at the event. All remembrances with a bonus any percent run is what I'm predicting. But how about you? I want to hear what you're looking forward to for the future of Elden Ring. What are some of the challenges or categories you'd like to see achieved? Perhaps some updates or DLCs that you're theorizing. Leave them in the comments below, and also don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed my explanation of how wild this game's runs have become. I know I said in my last video that I would try to cover the any percent restricted category, so apologies to those of you who I debated. This all happened very fast, as you can tell, so I've been a bit overwhelmed. But thank you all so much for your patience and your support. Be on the lookout for another Elden Ring video soon, involving a special randomizer mod that I've been streaming a bit of. Which, by the way, if you're not following me on Twitch and haven't joined our community, I encourage you to do so. Thanks again for watching, much love, and I will see you next time for another thrilling speedrunning story.